Welcome to the Whatever Dating Talk.
What is good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy. You're back at it again. Again, like I said, I'm gonna try to become a little bit more consistent when I go live. I have some other ideas on stuff that I can do. These are important, obviously, not only for entertainment, but like I feel like these conversations and discussions that I want to have need to be had. So I'll try to do them as often as I can. And I was curious about this one, right? I was curious. Candace Owens destroys whatever podcast. Interesting.
Podcast. Thank you for tuning in tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. We're coming to you live from Santa Barbara, California, every Sunday and Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. I am your host, Brian Atlas. I'm joined by my co-host, Kiki. She's a bit shy. A few quick announcements before the show begins. This podcast is viewer-supported, heavy YouTube demonetization, so please consider donating through Streamlabs instead of super chatting, as YouTube takes a brutal 30% cut. So if you super chat 100, YouTube takes 30. If you donate 100, Streamlabs only takes 3. Streamlabs.com/whatever.
Really?
Link
that.
is in the description. For the sake of a smooth show tonight, we have temporarily boosted some of the donation and super chat triggers, guys. If you want to see all the details, links in the description. We're also live on Twitch right now. Pull up another tab, go to twitch.tv/whatever. Drop us a follow in the Prime sub if you have one. And yeah, so we had a false start there, so I'm a little befuddled there. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to have the guests introduce themselves one more time. So please tell us your.
I don't care about introductions.
Yeah, congrats.
Nitty gritty.
You're so ripped.
God bless you.
How do you do it? You've always been in shape.
I've always lifted weights. I've been.
And it's certainly impressive that you still you're working like crazy and.
Yeah, well, otherwise you'll just drive yourself crazy.
Yeah. Sweet. And
It's
how long have
crazy.
you been-
Initially, I liked Candace Parker, right? When I was a little bit more ignorant back in college. But like after like becoming smarter, I realized that she has a lot of bad takes. A lot of bad takes. Like, she's smarter than the average. These people in the political landscape, they're smarter than the average citizen, right? Like, Candace Parker is probably smarter than every woman on this, right? But when you break down stuff she says, it's like, it's dumb.
Married for?
You know what I'm saying?
4 years.
4 years. Gotcha. Okay. And you said earlier on that you used to be kind of left-leaning or.
Jesus. Do we believe any of these girls can compete with Candace Parker in terms of intelligence? Like, be honest. Like, look, none of these girls are really going to be able to compete with Candace Parker. This is going to be brutal. I don't care. I want to get into Proverbs. What's this?
Considering
I'm going to
looking for
skip
someone
through.
of
It's
value,
4 hours long.
you
bro.
also take a second to measure yourself and see if you are a person of value that's worthy of marrying. Because I think people forget that part. That's almost the most important part.
Got it. So recently, a video went pretty viral on the internet, and Candace, you actually tweeted about it. Something about shashuka. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So Nick, if you can pull a video, we're gonna just have the panel react to it, and then before you go full screen on that,
I've seen this video. It was really stupid. I don't know why you would make a video about, oh, I'm single. Oh, I don't have to worry about kids. Like, what kind of video is that? Who cares? Like, you just want attention. This is so stupid. I'm gonna skip that. I don't care. That was stupid.
go ahead. You
And
wanted
all
to
I'm
come
saying
in.
is like it's sad, but it's crazy that like it's a trend. You know what I mean? Like that's
is.
why they're getting so many views on TikTok or Instagram or whatever they're posting these things on. It's like it's a trend.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, it's crazy.
Just a show of hands. Who here wants to have kids one day?
Well,
More,
let me,
yeah. It's my third, but
Besides Candace, does anyone here have kids?
I do.
You got kids? How many?
Yeah.
You got?
I have a son. He's 21.
Okay, gotcha.
He's
Gotcha.
perfect. And I'm good.
Jesus, man. You have a 21. Imagine your mom, because 21's not too far from my age. Imagine your mom going somewhere dressing like this. I'm not judging, but I'm judging. You feel me? Like, come on. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Okay.
But
got
one
it.
thing I notice, a trend, like, I agree that it's a trend, and she's doing that to brand.
Oh my god, these are fake as hell. Bro, this dip I got, expired July 19th. They gave me dip that expired July 19th, bro. This is why, like, ordering certain things from the gas station is so iffy on DoorDash. I'm being a Karen, bro. That shit expired. No wonder it's tasting weird. I might get COVID, bro. Hey, man. If your delivery driver doesn't take his due diligence to check if there's an expiration date on it, then hello? That shit is dead. You get your money back. Hold on. He really gave me an expired chip dip. All right. Got $2.37 refund. Deserved, honestly.
Brand herself and go viral and get a lot of attention and maybe monetize that. When I talk with other girls and they're younger, and I'll say, "Are you married? Are you planning on having children?" Sometimes that's a hot button for them, and it's maybe perhaps these kind of trends are like it's a rebellious thing because sometimes it's expected for people to get married out of the gate and have children and that kind of traditional lifestyle. If it's an expectation that parents have that they put on their children and younger generations aren't having it, especially these days when it's so hard it's so expensive, people are having to work a lot, that's just one thing I've noticed. A little pushback on that question even when I ask it. And I love children.
Gotcha. And
I think there's some weird notion nowadays that being in a family, and obviously the pushback, this is one of the things I criticize for the left. It's like they have good intentions, right? The left has good intentions. They want equal opportunity for all, equal opportunity for women, right? But then they go too far with the not agenda, but with the movement they're following, to the point where it went from, okay, women don't need to be stay-at-home wives and just take care of the kids all day. And it's going to, not all, probably the minority, this is probably the extreme, but the extreme is the most vocal, right? That's just how this stuff works. Where you got some people going out and saying, I'm a powerful woman. I don't even need to start a family at all. I could do everything by myself. When in reality, a lot of these women don't think this way. A lot of these women want to be with someone. A lot of these women want a family. They just think that they're sacrificing too much, is what a lot of these women think. And by sacrificing, they think starting a family is not worth it. The risk reward is not worth it. But I say this to women and men, honestly, that starting a family, creating a family, having kids, honestly, should be one of the most important things you do as a human being. Like, the cycle of life is the cycle of life for a reason, right? Working is great, having fun is great, but like at the end of the day, we're all living beings. The point of a living being is to have more living beings. We need to live, we need to have kids, and we need to raise them. So it's kind of weird how this notion keeps on getting more and more popular.
I don't recall if you had a response to Candace or...
I mean, I was just going to say the opposite content does exist, and I would say that it's more prevalent, and usually there's more of it.
If these aren't contacts, like, let's be honest, like, she's pretty as hell.
than there is the opposite. And whatever community she wants to represent, I think that
Her
somebody
eyes
that
are
is
selling
single,
it.
and obviously,
And
like I
obviously,
said, she closed out the
feel
video
me?
saying, I know that women that are married and have children can do all of these things as well, but this is what makes me feel better because I'm not that far along. And I think if she's giving comfort and solace to women that want to be in that position and aren't quite there yet, whether you took it that way or not, I think that that's okay.
I don't think anything that she did in there was meant to be charitable. It was all about her. So, I mean, just a different interpretation, but I'm just happy that you were honest and admitted that it is becoming trendy to put
It's
down
like,
women.
yeah.
Yeah, but by the way, speaking to what you were saying about it being an act of rebellion, I used to be a feminist. If you had found me, you're 22, right? Found me at 22, I would have probably had the same perspectives as you about family. It is something different, and you will realize that when it's someone that's 29 years old and saying that, it's not the same intention. It's not, I'm young, I'm free, I'm wild, and I think I'm going to live forever. What she's doing is something different. And also, just recently today, actually, Emma Ratajkowski came out with a quote about, I think getting divorced before you're 30 is chic. That's something else. And that a woman
Chic.
at 22, a woman at 29 saying something that is appropriate when you're at 21 or 22, it's a little different. And she knew what she was doing. It was intentional. And like I said, if you look into her content, this is not some innocent woman that was posting just to boost herself up on the internet. She's trying to get clicks. She's trying to get views.
Right.
And she got them, for better or for worse.
I want to come back
I
a
agree.
little bit
I agree,
now
Candace.
to people's relationship status. So, or not even so much relationship status, but perhaps it's related. So, both of you do.
I still don't know what the purpose of this podcast is. Like, what is it trying to do exactly?
Courtship.
Sex work.
Courtship.
Courtesan.
Courtesan.
That's an
Sex work.
old-fashioned.
Like, my thing is, people are starting to create purely for attention nowadays. I don't think people are trying to create for rhyme or reason. Which is unfortunate.
Historical term.
Okay.
Back in the day, courtesans were able to own property, whereas the Little Miss didn't have that ability. The way the laws were written back in the day of ancient years, like
that plastic
the wife
surgery
was
is so nasty.
toddlerized, and then the courtesans were able to go and attend the meetings with the politicians and the business owners and actually state their case and be influential.
But okay, so I'm just trying to differentiate here because courtesan, that's when I think of it, I think of people who are in the court. Typically, there's
In
a
the courtyard.
kingdom.
Yeah.
There's a kingdom. There's a monarch, and there's maybe some of them are dukes, maybe.
It's
or
from that
there's
era, but it
viceroys.
Yeah.
There's some viceroys in there. There's a couple of. Well, I don't know some other terms. Lords, ladies.
Yes.
But okay, so you guys work in Nevada, is that correct? In what's the place that you guys work at?
There's different brothels. The Bunny Ranch. I've been at the Bunny Ranch. We've both been there. We both worked at the world famous Mustang.
Okay.
Those are more normal.
Oh, so you guys both don't work there, or you don't work there anymore. Do you still work at what is it called, the Bunny Ranch, or?
So, hold on.
We're independent contractors. So
Take your time.
Independent contractors, bro. I have such a love-hate relationship when it comes to sex work. I'm not gonna lie.
So like
I'm not gonna lie.
when we're on tour, we contract ourselves out, with whomever.
Okay.
So that might change.
Sure. So a couple questions here. So I don't know, maybe it's changed throughout the course of your life, but how many, maybe you see men, maybe you see women, how many per day or per week, do you call them clients? What do you call them? Tricks?
Clients,
What do they call
friends.
them?
No, not tricks.
Marks?
No.
No? Okay. I don't know. I don't know the terminology. I'm not
I mean,
in the world.
some providers may, but they're not maybe
Okay.
the most respectful.
Okay.
I like to deem them friends as soon as I
Sure.
get to know them, and
Gotcha.
and we are like friends. Sometimes we're like married couples, but
Yeah.
it can be it depends, anywhere from like 2 to 3 a day. That's a lot,
2 to 3 a
but
day.
maybe
Okay.
5 a week.
Okay. What about you?
So anywhere between 2 to 3. Oh, sorry.
It's fine.
Anywhere between 2 to 3.
Okay.
And sometimes 4 or 5, depending on.
Sure. Per day.
Yes.
Do you know what the most is in one day? Like, was there one day?
It always fluctuates.
What are we talking
Okay.
about
Is there ever
exactly?
like
Are we
a
talking about
10,
prostitutes? Is that what
A
we're
dozen?
talking about?
I don't.
Yes.
I mean, yeah,
Baker's dozen?
it can. It
Okay.
can happen.
I might as well just look it up. Should I look this up? Okay, I'm gonna look it up, but I'm gonna like turn that off just in case something crazy pops up. What is a courtesan? A prostitute. Okay, a prostitute, especially one with wealthy upper class clients. Okay, all right, cool. That's what I assumed. That is what I assumed.
Happen.
Sure.
I don't personally do that.
When coming off the heels of Dennis Hoff's Cat House, there were, I mean, 10
Oh, Nick, hide.
Wait, what? What happened?
Hide.
house. There were, I mean, 10
Oh, Nick, hide. Okay, all right, good. All right, welcome to the Whatever Podcast. Always something. Where were we?
I was mentioning
Cringe.
he drummed up a ton of mainstream media. He
Like, is the point of this podcast to just show, like, you know, a lot of women who do sex work? Like, I don't get it. Like, what is the point? I'm so confused.
Where I was coming from, you knew what I was doing, and you weren't okay with it. Then you should have made that a point.
I mean, I suppose you have a point that, I mean, if they knew going
She's always
in
about to
that
say something and she doesn't
this is
say
what you do
anything.
for work,
Going
you're a
on.
stripper, or you're
Right.
doing OnlyFans, or you're doing sex work, then I think it's a little bit of a stretch that all of a sudden, a couple weeks or months into a relationship, then they start changing up. But I think to differentiate the conversation a little bit, for example, like let's say, and I don't know if you mentioned this when it comes to like posting perhaps revealing photos online, not intended for commercial, like they're just on Instagram, but they're not monetizing it, they're not content creators, or like, for example, if they go to the bar, club, party a lot, would you consider it insecure if a guy, maybe 3 months into a relationship, at that point he started having issues with you or with another girl? Hey, he started saying, "Hey, I don't want you to go in the clubs and bars anymore. I
And
don't
he
want
already
you to."
knew? You're saying he already knew this?
Well, like I assume he knew. Yeah.
So
Is it such I never really understand this concept of insecurity. Now, if he already knew, and then down the line he says, "Okay, I don't like it anymore." That's obviously something that's he probably got insecure to an extent after learning what it is like to be with this type of woman. But insecurity is such a hot term, but they try to use it to defame the guy. But in reality, there's nothing wrong with insecurity, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Like, I don't know why I try to use as this negative term to deface someone, but in reality, these situations are situations that are hard to deal with because the exposure of something that is meant to be intimate is let out for other people's use and let out in terms of other people's viewment, right? So it's such a stupid thing to relay, indicating that, okay, this guy's insecure, he's less of a man, because that's what they're trying to say. He's less of a man. That is basically the analogy that they're trying to make.
if he already knew, then
Well, I guess my framing is prior to dating, he had no problem with you or with another girl engaging in what he considered to be single behavior at the time. But once you or whoever it is started dating, he wanted his partner to act in a way that he thought was more consistent with being in a relationship. So perhaps it's okay to go out to, me personally, even if I'm single, I'm not really interested in going to bars, clubs, and I don't post revealing photos online, but I don't know. I feel like that men don't do that too much. I mean, there's certainly men that post like whatever. Anyways, but once you get into the relationship, there's expectations that certain things change.
Well, with the sex worker,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just differentiating when it comes to like posting revealing photos. If it's not for your work,
then yeah,
or
like
going to bars and
I can
clubs.
separate my work identity from my personal life.
Go ahead. You wanted to come in?
I think, I mean, if we're talking somebody that's not a sex
I don't really. That's a conversation for a different day. Is it really possible to separate work from? And I'm beginning to come to terms with this too, that it may not be possible to separate the work from the worker and the art from the artist. Like we use those terms so we can kind of justify doing certain things, like listen to R. Kelly song. But after really thinking about it, and I think about it more and more, I'm coming to the notion that in reality we don't really buy into this, right? I think it does help for people if they don't know a lot about the scumbag that is creating the art or the work. But once you know enough details, there's no way you can justify associating yourself with that person in any way. So I'm becoming less and less
worker
like
and is
I
posting
buy that
revealing
term
photos.
less and
I think
less.
that that's something that you talk about before getting into a relationship with somebody, because then if you're talking, you know, and a guy is like, you know, my expectations for my girlfriend are XYZ. I don't like these kind of revealing photos for my girlfriend. I don't like you going out all the time. And then I think from then on, that's when you decide whether to make a relationship serious or not. Because if she doesn't want to restrict where she's going or what she's doing or the type of photos she's posting for him, then that's her decision. But I don't think that it's wrong for a partner to ask her, you know, hey, if we're in a relationship, this is what I expect. And then, you know, she makes the decision, yes, I will do those things, or no.
But do you think that so early on, like say on the first date or second date, that there's enough of a relationship established for a guy to have enough, I don't know if leverage is the right word, but like enough pull or influence to
Let me read this. One of the is too young to remember the movie Pretty Woman. Imagine a guy just wanting a better life for the both of you and maybe even a family. Again, the world is fucked.
be like, hey, listen, I don't want
All
you
right,
doing this
babe.
anymore.
You shouldn't
Absolutely
date
not.
someone
Absolutely
with the
But that's, I
expectation
mean,
that
she
they're
just
gonna
said
change.
that you should early on, you should say,
Early
I
on,
don't,
not date number one. Date
Not
number one
date
is
number
crazy.
one, not
Okay,
date number
okay,
two.
okay,
That is
Maybe date
wild.
number
I think,
three,
okay, wait,
four,
wait.
like-
There's,
Okay.
I think there's two things
Go ahead, Pixie.
going on here. I think you can date someone, and then as a relationship evolves and changes, some things that you thought you were comfortable with, you're like, hey, I'm not really comfortable with this anymore.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
think
that.
that's reasonable.
Agreed.
But I think that's very distinct than going into a relationship thinking, oh, I don't like the fact that she posts this types of photos. I'm going to make her stop. You know, I'm going to change her, basically. Because you're setting up, I think, everyone for disappointment. You're setting up yourself, her. There's
False
a difference between
expectations.
going
I
into
agree.
something, having feelings change, talking from there, and intentionally trying to change before you even date, really.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you ever fell in love with somebody, would you be willing to delete all of your stuff if they asked you?
Would I be me?
Yes.
Okay.
If you, as a sex worker and everything that you do, if you fell in love and you found someone and they asked you to
Right.
stop.
So with that being said, I am currently single because of what I do for work. I am very much so busy doing my work, and I am full throttle, like wanting to make money and capitalize off of this industry to the best of my ability and make it to the point where I can retire.
Didn't answer the question for a reason. I think I'm sorry to say this, but like there's not many guys, good guys. There's just not many good guys that want to be with a sex worker. Like, I think we just got to keep it a buck, right? We just got to be honest with ourselves. Can you find a guy that wants to be with a sex worker? Sure. But can you find a good guy who wants to be with a sex worker? Questionable, right? So, I mean, maybe it's a thing where maybe my notion of a good guy is a little flawed. I mean, that's perfectly possible. But I think we all have a general understanding, like, of what a good guy is. Like, Adam 22, I wouldn't consider a good guy, right? But you can get an Adam 22, right? So, just because he's not a good guy doesn't mean he won't be a successful guy. So, you know, to each their own.
And then it's like, also making this much money and doing what I do for work, it puts me in a position to be able to meet the type of guys that I want to meet, right? The higher end type of guys. And maybe later on down the line, not anytime yet, I would be open to it if I find everything happens for a reason, you know, never say never, but like if I found Prince Charming or something one day and
See, that's what happens. Like there's this imaginary Prince Charming notion, which is what so many girls like her suffer from, where by chance I might meet Prince Charming. By chance. But we know what the reality is. Like, come on.
didn't want me doing this anymore, like or I wouldn't be doing this anyways. I want to retire from it at one point. And then yeah, eventually maybe.
But you may have a
And when
Riley
you say
Reid
high-end
situation
men,
or Mia
what do you mean
Khalifa,
by
where it's
that?
like, sure, they're successful, but like
Like high value men?
Yes,
they recognize
or
how
men
hard
with a
this
lot of
stuff
money.
is
High value.
in terms of.
Okay.
I have
being
a
in a
question
relationship.
for you two
Yeah.
here. So both of you do OnlyFans.
Like I said, I've
Having done OnlyFans, continuing to do OnlyFans, has it had any negative impacts on your dating prospects? Does it make it harder to date? Has it been maybe non-issue at all? Some guys like it.
Oh my gosh, it's
These
so comfortable.
girls made no, not even girls. It's, it was a guy.
My husband used to come.
These pathetic guys made that. One
I've
OnlyFans
never had an
creator.
issue with it, dating wise. No one has ever.
OnlyFans model. Not surprised. I mean, at this point, you can kind of understand the look of an OnlyFans girl. Like, not surprised.
Because I'm
But-
very upfront too. You know, first date,
mean-
if this is what I do, if you don't like it, this is how I make my money. Unless you're going to pay me the same amount of money I'm making,
What's
then
good, EJ?
I'm not going to stop supporting myself. But yeah, I never really ran into issues. But again, I don't do full pornographic content or anything like that. So it
Oh, okay.
probably is a little bit different for somebody on OnlyFans that does do that type of content. But I personally have never ran into an issue. My boyfriend at first was, you know, I told him and he was like, okay, well, if I'm going to date you, I have to be okay with this. And that was that. And it's never been an issue.
I do think, yeah, I give her the caveat because she doesn't do pornographic material. I mean, she might do like lingerie and like, but like, that's not really the same. So, yeah, it's not the same. It's just not. It's just not the same.
Sorry, I was asking a question. What kind of content do you do on OnlyFans?
Oh.
Mainly topless content.
Okay,
So-
and you currently have a boyfriend?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I don't do pornographic content, but I do topless content. So she doesn't film herself getting, you know what I'm saying? But she films her boobs out. I mean, it's huge. So, man, shout out.
Just that's the extent of it?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Essie?
I've also never had an issue in my dating life. I don't date that often though, but
Right, because you've been single for 6 years.
yeah.
But
Saying you have never had issues in your dating life and being single for 6 years is crazy. Like, at least she has a boyfriend, right? I'm
it
just
might
saying.
not
It can
necessarily
happen.
be related to that you're now doing OnlyFans.
Yeah, I also don't do nudes on OnlyFans, so it's just like
Shout out to
lingerie
you.
content.
Oh, okay.
So I think
All
that
right.
also maybe helps because so
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Question here for Candace.
It's
so,
it's different.
what are your thoughts on OnlyFans, sex work, and do you believe that a woman doing OnlyFans or porn might have an impact on her future
Be
romantic
less of
prospects?
a woman? That's what
And
you
if
want
so,
to
how
ask.
and why?
What
I can
did
repeat
Candace
it.
say?
That was a lot, so let me know if you need me to
you're
repeat
fine.
anything.
I talk about this extensively on my show. I mean, the truth is that if you are going to engage in sex work, you are going to probably make a lot of money, especially if you're young. You're on a very tight rope. As you get older, your value goes down, and men are going to want women that are younger and available to them. I'm talking about in terms of just making the person who will subscribe to your OnlyFans page. You know, obviously, women, you're declining as you age, and the truth is that high value men don't want to date women that are sex workers or even women that aren't sex workers and lean into the whole talking about how sexy and are freely available on the internet for other men to see. What we're talking about is biological proclivity. What men are doing when they first say, this sounds amazing, to date a stripper or to date a prostitute or to date a sex worker, is there's this instinct to have sex. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to have sex all the time. But then when they realize that actually a form of wanting to be in a relationship is feeling that there's a mystery to a woman, that there's something that's yours, there's something that's sacred, there's something that's powerful and beautiful that just you share. And when they realize that they have to share that with other men, it completely diminishes the man. A recent cultural example of that.
Very, very, very valid points, honestly. I think there is something to that when it comes to dating and sex work and the mystery of a relationship. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't deny that notion by any means.
That obviously is what's happening with.
What happened? What are we doing? Okay.
Welcome to the What
Sex is just sex. Interesting. Technical difficulties. We out here. What, like, do I have any right to say this? Because I am single as well. But I think myself, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I think my situation is not a situation of can't versus. I mean, I guess everybody says that, so maybe I have no right to say anything. It's not like I'm trying to appease.
But
anybody.
it might not necessarily be related to that you're now doing OnlyFans.
Yeah. I also don't do nudes.
A sex worker by any means. She just kind of said some sexy things on the internet about wanting cock, and look at what.
Was not expecting that from Candace.
I'm quoting her directly, so this is purely academic. Purely academic, and look at what happened. You know, now Logan has become the laughing stock of other men as they piece together everything that she's ever said that's overtly sexual. And again, she's not a sex worker, but what happened is her value just completely plummeted because
what's Tara's at light blue shirt? How thirsty is this dude,
need
bro?
to feel. And I don't want to say possession in a way that sounds bad, because it's not bad. It's actually really beautiful. And I'm.
Are we talking about this light blue shirt or this light blue shirt? There's two light blue shirts right here. And honestly, the Logan Paul situation is just cringe as fuck. Dylan Dennis is cringe as hell, bro.
Lucky and fortunate that I get to experience that in my marriage, you know, and it's something that women should strive toward. Women that make those exchanges in their youth, I think that's sad, and I do feel bad for Nina Agdal, is because she said a lot of those statements when she was really young. She's probably your age. And she had a camera, and she said it, and it lives forever. Right. And now every man that she dates is going to say Dylan Danis has made her available to everyone. And I hope things work out between her and Logan, but if you don't think that that's going to impact Logan, or that's not actively impacting him as a man, it is. So with women, it's a trade-off. First thing you said was, I make money. This is about money. It's about money, but when it comes down to marrying these women, men just don't want it.
And that's exactly why I said that in this industry, I'm single until I retire.
But it will still matter.
I don't plan on doing this or getting married or finding the love of my life until I retire, like, truthfully. And then after that,
you see what happens to Nina Agdal.
No. And then after that, I will be honest and truthful with.
It's like, she's not. When you're young, especially when you're young, you're about to make a decision that will impact your life forever, because that's what sex work is. It's a decision that will impact your life forever. That will never not be a situation. There are definitely situations, and it's so tough when you're young, right? A lot of people are ignorant, especially when you're on your own and you don't have a role model to kind of steer you forward. It's such a tough situation. You only can feel bad, honestly. But some people have everything they need, and they still choose
the person
this route.
that I will be getting married to or whatever, and it'll be up to him to accept that, right? So,
and I'm just saying that men's natural proclivity is to not accept that, because it brings them shame. men are biologically
Okay,
proud creatures.
I understand, but
and
not
to-
everybody
hold on,
can
hold
be
on,
like
just-
No, I know. I'm not. I'm just telling you what is happening and why people are. I'm just talking about cultural events and the Agdal thing. And if you look at people like Emily Ratajkowski, she's obviously hot. But this is a woman who's now trying to make divorce chic. And I think that the understanding is in Hollywood is, sleep with her and move on. She's not marriage material. Her husband, when he had her, cheated on her because they didn't have that thing. I feel like I've slept with the girl. I've seen her naked so many times, right? So there's nothing special about Sebastian Bear marrying her because we've all seen her naked. There's nothing sacred.
To be fair, I do think there's more to a relationship than just sex and mystery, right? There's definitely more to it. I mean, the mystery is great, but like there is something to that, because even if you kind of look at it on a different vein where you say something like, okay, the spark is not there because the husband or the wife starts getting fat, or the husband and wife stop experimenting, or the sex gets stale. Like, the mystery can be lost in a lot of variety of ways, obviously being a porn sex workers and one of those ways. So there's a lot of different ways, but there's always ways to kind of rekindle the spark, right? At the end of the day, when you're getting in a relationship, what you want to do is you want to maximize the opportunity to continue the spark. You want to maximize the opportunity of companionship. When you're doing everything you do has a risk factor. But when it comes down to being in a relationship, the risk factor is not only based off your own decision, but based off your partner's decision. Because you want to be with that person and you want to be one, basically. Obviously, it gets even deeper once you start a family. So you always want to maximize the potential of making yourself and your partner as cohesive as possible. The spark aspect, stay in shape, care about the person's interest, consistent communication, consistent interaction, and have fun in the bed, you know what I'm saying, sex. And the mystery can also play a part. So it's a lot more nuanced than just like, okay, we all know you're naked, so that's why a relationship will be ruined. But it definitely 100% can be a part of it.
In that relationship. And I'm just speaking on telling you, this is why women struggle to get married when they've made themselves available on OnlyFans, because other men don't want to share. They don't want to share their wife. They maybe will share their girlfriend. They might think it's fun to date a stripper for a little bit. They might think, oh, this means I'm going to have sex 12 times a day.
I'm only watching
but then
this
when it gets down to just their
Candace
biological
Owens is on
instinct,
it,
it's
so I'm
actually quite
curious
embarrassing for them as
what
a man,
she's going to
because
provide on
they
this.
can look up your girl and here she is, so that's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I'm just curious about your opinion on this, because I've seen like a couple of people in like Red Pill spaces, like Pates or people similar to that, talking about how they should marry a young woman. Would you agree or disagree that that might not be the most like rational course of action?
Appreciate you,
marry a
EJ. We're
young
gonna try to
woman? What do you
stream
mean by
more
that?
and more
That
up and
I
coming.
hear a lot of men talk about how a woman inherently
But this is an
loses
important
value as she
conversation.
gets
This is an
older.
important discussion.
And
I think
that's why that they should seek out young women.
Well, I live in the South, and a lot of people get married young, and I think it's really beautiful and wonderful. They
Wait, what? Lane 550. Hey, Purple Political Breakdown. I'm a bot looking to help you get a sub button on Kick. I'm offering to give you the 70 followers you need for $10 for the price of a meal. You'll be able to earn money while streaming. How's a bot able to come in the chat and do that? That's kind of crazy. I don't know. Appreciate you, bot.
preserve this sort of innocence. I have people
I'm not
that
gonna
work for me
bot
that want to get
pay
married
for
at
followers,
22.
though.
They drop out of school. So I don't think there's anything wrong with marrying when you're young.
I'm good, bot.
I'd have to
Appreciate
see
it,
the
though.
full context of what they're talking about, because I do think, obviously, the longer you wait, and especially in this society that's creating this simulation that sexuality equates to freedom when it doesn't, that what he might be suggesting is that the longer a woman runs free, the more partners
good,
that
EJ.
she's gathering,
Appreciate
and
you, buddy.
her worth is being diminished. And I think that there is some veracity to that. But, you know, if it's said in a way that sounds a little crass, like seek out younger women because they're not as used, and I can see why people would be offended by it, but that might be underpinned by a little bit of logic. So I'd have to see the clip in its entirety.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is because in general, I think men do have a biological proclivity. I can't pronounce that word. Proclivity. You know, to seek out like youth and beauty. But I also think when it comes to like settle down, you want a mother who's going to be responsible and good towards her children.
I feel you,
so
bro.
I
gotta
think the
start
idea
a
that
new
like men
job
seek
next
out
year.
beauty is true, but I also think men seek out a level of like responsibility and maturity that only comes with age. So I was just curious because of the other stuff I've heard from.
Yeah, the notion that red pillars, which is also like, I hate the red pill movement. They're just so fucking stupid sometimes. Because what they started as, which is very similar to the Me Too movement, actually, this is like a movement thing. Movements start off with good intentions. Me Too, BLM, red pill, they start off with good intentions and then they just spiral out of control with no sense being made. The red pill movement trying to make this claim that all men want younger women is so disingenuous. Now, there's a certain beauty to younger women, obviously, because they're young, but what you're really looking at is young, fit women. And there's just a notion that young women and young men probably stay in shape and are a little bit more put together in terms of health versus older individuals, because sometimes they tend to let themselves go. So that's really what it is. It's health, staying in shape, caring about your looks because you're young, all that stuff. So it's not a young thing. It's the culture of being young and what you do to kind of maximize your health, your looks and all that stuff. You can do the same thing at 30 or 40. Like, it's such a disingenuous thing to
And
say.
also, it's like sex is just sex. Like, it's just sex. And
Just
when
what do
you have a
mean by that?
partner, you have an emotional connection with them. And so, like, the guy on your last podcast, he was on here a few days ago, he was saying how, like, for men, sex is just sex. But, like, spending time with a woman and, like, buying her things and, like, going on trips with her is, like, different than having sex with just random people. And that's why they were, like, in an open relationship or whatever.
Can I just have you scoot your mic that way
This
a
way?
little bit? Yeah, perfect.
I mean,
But
I
yeah.
definitely wouldn't say that like swapping DNA is like just sex. I mean, a man leaves a piece of himself inside of you.
Now, I'm beyond it. This is why I have a love-hate relationship. Because I do agree to an extent, sex is just sex. Now, that might just because I'm a little fiend. And maybe it's because back when I was in preschool, I learned about porn a little bit too young, right? Because I was going through HBO at night and I learned about something that I probably shouldn't have. Maybe my brain is just wired incorrectly. But like, I also think sex is just sex. Like, I like my, fun. Okay. Although I'm more safe, I wrap up. I don't do the pull-out game. I make sure that I'm STD free. Like, I'm all good, bro. I'm all good. So like, inherently it is, but it's a fun, risky activity. It's just like, for me, how I see it, it's just like if you go bungee dive, bungee rope, bungee jumping. It's just like bungee jumping in my personal opinion. There's a lot of risk to it, but there's a lot of enjoyment to it at the same time, right? And you're gonna do that. You're gonna have a thrill. It's gonna be a good time for momentary satisfaction, and then you're gonna move on. Now, I think sex is similar in the sense that, like, if you bungee jump on your own or with friends, it's great. But if you bungee jump with the love of your life, it's probably different. So it is just sex, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that it should be monetized necessarily. It's such a, because like, I think there's meaning to what I'm doing. There's meaning to me having sex, right? I'm not doing it to make a quick buck. I'm not doing it because I'm bored. I'm doing it because I enjoy it. Maybe she enjoys it too, but while she enjoys it, she makes an extra bit of cash. But porn is not, I mean, from what I've heard, porn is not something that people do to enjoy. It's just work. So yes and no. Like
But man, that's
That's
way
how I see
they
it.
think.
You
And like
can't-
for women,
making something
we
like this
get attached
just
to them
work,
emotionally.
Right.
I don't think.
having sex
I
with
don't
them.
think.
Which is
But
why
they get
it's
attached.
more of a, when women have a lot of partners, it is different. It is worse in a way, and people don't want to admit that. But because we are more
Jesus.
emotional, there is an attachment. It isn't just sex for women. I think women are damaged by
Why
those
are you in the
relationships.
background?
Women like to
Like
think
a
because of the social
token-
simulation that it can just be sex. It's whatever.
Token girl just looking pretty in the
Non-committal,
background.
The only people that benefit from
Like,
that
I don't know what
lie
else
are
she does
men.
here, but look pretty as hell.
It is
That's
not
pretty
great to
dope.
have sex and have a man not call
Whatever
you back. It doesn't
has
feel
pretty
good.
women
It
on
doesn't
their
matter if a
podcast. Who knows?
BuzzFeed article says it does. I had a wonderful weekend, and this is why I had sex and didn't worry about it. You feel used, and especially I would say if you're not a sex worker and a man does that and never calls you back, and you don't even have money to show for it. I think it diminishes your self-worth even more than your worth to a man.
The reason why I say sex is because in our line of work, we see it as transactional, right?
See that again, that is my problem. She sees it as work, right? So that's my issue. Also, like I said, I do indulge, I do have fun, but one thing I think is very important is you make it very, 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 very clear, because Candace brought a great point, and I never do this because I never want to lead someone on. You make it very clear that's all we're about to do. That's all that's going on. I'm not in love with you. I don't want a relationship. This is what we're doing. I always make it clear. Obviously, some girls are gonna say no to that. Some girls want to be in a relationship. But I try to make that as clear as possible. I think you need to make it clear when you're like, you just want to have fun with a woman. You need to make it clear. Say, hey, come over. Let's have a good time. Let's, indulge. Man, I created a game. That card game I created for these type of interactions, top tier. If you need some help to spice things up, I got you. But ultimately, it's you gotta let them know so they don't have some false expectations, so they don't go home feeling like they're used object, right? I think that's important, and I always try to be upfront,
especially when we're working. And then at the end of the day, they go home to their wives or whatever, right? And it's like emotionally.
She said that so casually. Oh, I'm just fucking this guy who's married. He goes home to his wife, and she said that so casually.
You're
Jesus.
emotionally being there for them and taking care of them and doing all this, that, or the other.
So then sex clearly isn't just sex. It's also emotional.
It can be.
Yes.
It can be, yes. But I was saying, according to the guy that he had on the last podcast, he said that for men, sex is just sex.
Well,
And that
I disagree with the idea that sex doesn't harm, or casual sex wouldn't harm a man or does harm women, or that sex is just sex. I think a lot of people tell themselves that, but I think it can lead to a lifestyle of just pure hedonism, whether you're a man or a woman, and that can be dangerous, because then you're losing sight of other things that you value or other aspects of life. So I don't
recommend
I think for some people
I wouldn't
that can
recommend
be
that
true,
to
but
my
I
kid
think for
or my
the majority
sibling,
of people,
honestly.
there's a reason why a lot of
It's
people
not
are only into
good. It's
monogamy,
not
or
good,
why
right?
that's been the norm for a lot of cultures. And I think most people are a little bit hardwired to kind of seek out those intimate relationships. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying I think that's how most people are, where casual sex can be harmful.
And I think it can definitely be harmful for men. I want to be clear. I'm saying that it's different for men and it's different for women, but I don't agree with the statement sex is sex. It's just sex at all.
And it's natural to be attracted to a lot of different people. You know what I mean? So it's
But that comes with self-control. I think attraction is one
Facts.
thing, and acting on those needs or wants by sleeping with multiple people. I don't understand that.
Did you want to come in on
Shame.
I don't-
She's
what do you
feeling
mean?
shame.
I don't
not,
understand
not
why
in
would
response
you.
to her.
I mean, I kind of feel bad, but like at the same time, like she knew what this was.
But
Come on.
Okay.
just the
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the idea that sex is just sex. When I was younger, I definitely had a lot more, like casual sexual relationships, not one night stands or anything by that measure, more like situationship. And as I got older,
Situationships.
My views on it kind of changed, and you do feel differently when, like you were saying, it doesn't feel good to hook up with somebody and not have them call you back. So I actually was celibate for about 2 years before I met my partner, doing OnlyFans and everything else.
Your
I
current
wasn't-
partner?
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't sleeping with anybody. I stuck to it very hard because I just didn't really like the feeling of sleeping with somebody and then getting an emotional attachment to them. So
That's very valid.
think that
I can't
certain
even be
people,
mad
because
at that.
everybody
This
is
is-
different. I don't think that it's that black and white. But I think to some people and to some women and to some men, casual sex really is just sex, whether they're leaving DNA or not. I think that there are people that do actually feel that way because I've met women that are like that. But for me, it is not that simple. And I don't think that it's that simple for most women.
Can I rate?
I think you can't treat it that way. I agree. Like I can't like the notion in society shouldn't be sex is just sex. The notion in society should be sex is a meaningful thing that can be partly due to, enjoyment. That's why you orgasm, right? But the meaning behind sex should always be primarily, oh yeah, this is to create a kid and start a family, right? That should be the primary function. That should be the first thing you think about. That the potential thing that could happen in a result of sex is a child. So I agree. I always think about my own. This is one of my big. This is probably the biggest fault of me is like the hookup stuff. And like I think to myself, it's like, man, hookups are not great. But I also recognize, and you have to kind of be honest with you and your own personality when it comes to these situations. That me, I don't do well with commitment. So it's like once I'm with someone, I get emotionally detached very quickly. So I think there are just some people that emotionally just can't get in a relationship, and maybe I just got to meet the right one and I will be able to. But I think this is important to know. You need to recognize that sex has an intended purpose. You need to recognize who you are. If you don't fit into this like relationship style purpose, be honest who you are and just make sure that you know you're the outlier. This is not a lifestyle that you should be pushing onto other people. I think that's very, very, very important. Because the red pill tries to do that,
Something that I've sort of seen,
which is a problem. That's why I dislike the red pill.
So I do think it's possible that for some people,
Or hookup
sex
culture.
may be detached from romantic emotions with that person, but I do think there may always still be an underlying psychological part there of at least an ego boost, at least some sort of like grab for validation, some sort of
If
grab
you're having sex for ego boost and
emotional
validation,
intimacy,
like
even if you're telling
you're
yourself,
weird.
I'm just doing this because
You're
having
weird.
casual sex is empowering and sex is just sex. I think even in most of the cases where people genuinely believe they're just having sex because it's sex, if they ask themselves a little further, why am I really doing this? Is it perhaps just, to placate my ego, or for some sort of male validation, or for some sort of like intimacy or connection because maybe I'm not
Imagine
getting
doing
it
things for
romantically
male
otherwise.
validation. Crazy.
In a more like serious relationship, I would also press for that as a possibility, even in those cases of people who genuinely do think for themselves that sex is just sex.
Well, I mean, I guess we can look to the people that do it professionally.
Bro is donating hundreds of dollars and just getting no answer, which that's crazy. To be fair, he probably has a lot of people in the stream, but Jesus. Hundreds of dollars. Answer one of his questions. Candace, what specific steps will you take to ensure that your daughter does not become one of the women sitting on the panel right now? This is a condescending question. Because, like, she has a boyfriend. She's lost. She made mistakes. What did she didn't do anything. I don't know.
I mean,
So
do you feel that there's some underlying male validation in your work or no?
I find it very meaningful. I find it meaningful when couples come in and they want to work on something. They're working on a goal. Maybe he's got a mental block and we're working on that. The gentleman that comes in that's having issues with erectile dysfunction and he's trying to troubleshoot that, and we actually create success for him.
imagine having erectile dysfunction and going to a prostitute to fix it. Yo, what? What kind of solution is that? That's kind of crazy, but to each their own.
It's meaningful to me.
Wait, just one point of clarification. So you're a sex therapist?
As
Yeah.
sex workers, we're basically sex
I mean,
therapists.
I don't have a
okay.
counseling degree. I have a master's degree in
Actually,
education.
we have
I'm
an
a teacher.
article. You recently kind of went viral. Nick, can you pull up the article? Like,
Is she a sex
New York
therapist?
Post.
Yeah. Yeah.
New
people went
York
crazy.
Post. I'm a sex therapist. I sleep with clients to save marriage.
Bro, what? What are we talking about? What?
Oh my gosh, I didn't
They
realize
went
you were this
crazy.
person. I did see.
They went crazy.
Did you reacted to this, or
I
you saw
almost
it?
did, but I'm here.
You're here now. So,
Perfect.
Nick, can you pull up the article really quick?
Yeah.
One more. Sex therapist Olivia Bentley, Nick, takes a hands-on approach with her clients by sleeping with them. I've saved marriages, the Boise, Idaho native told Kennedy News, calling her work life-changing. I get physically involved with the majority of the people I see. I think that's part of the appeal. The veteran sex worker who spent 15 years in the industry claims that women have asked her to demonstrate sex acts on their husbands, while some wives grant their eager hubbies a hall pass to pay Bentley a visit. Good times.
Yeah.
Is that pretty accurate? I mean, so
Yeah.
you save marriages by
It can happen. It can happen. There's exceptions to every rule that exists. Do I recommend this? I don't recommend it personally, but to each their own, I guess.
having sex with the husband.
Well, I think the tabloids went a little crazy.
Oh, they-
with
okay,
the
okay,
whole,
okay.
But
New York Post is known to
yeah,
okay.
they really went wild with it. But I do help a lot of couples that come in. One right now is asking me to
Candace
lend a hand,
cooks.
and
I'm gonna
he's-
fast forward to that.
I'm dying from
Is even-
cancer, and
and
my
somebody
husband
sleeps
goes
with
to
somebody
sleep with somebody. I
else.
swear to God.
Like
Their
their
husbands-
wives,
their
that are
wives
Wait,
are
guys,
the
one at
ones
a
that
time.
come.
Hold on, just one at a time, please. Go. Candace, were you?
I just would like to make the point that at the very moment that you loan your spouse out, especially if you're dying of cancer, so that they can get off, you're no longer in a marriage. So it's just a farce. It's like it's a comical. You're pretending for people that you're in a marriage, that you're in a loving relationship. That's not what a marriage is. So to say that I help marriages, no, you help destroy marriages, and they can go out and say that we're still married because what we've done is we've essentially said, you take care of this aspect of the marriage. It's like saying you raise the kids, you have sex with him. This isn't a marriage. It's the whole thing is fake,
what do
right?
you think that they should
I'll bring
do?
you in next.
What do you think that
They
these
should work on their
circumstances-
marriage together. The union between a husband and a wife should work on their marriage together to fix it. You don't bring out an outside person to sleep with your husband
But
or
if
your
she's
wife.
saying I'm not down for sex,
Then she
I
might be
want
down for a
you to- I want to
divorce.
outsource the sex.
What if she's
I
gonna
want
die
you to
from
go to this
cancer and
professional.
she
One second.
wanted him?
Oh, I might then make this a deeper question for a later podcast. If your wife has a medical disability, maybe she gets paralyzed and she wanted to outsource sex to her husband, or vice versa, where you're about to die, or bro, there's a lot of contingencies and with this. And would you allow sex or whatever? I think Candace is being a little. I'm gonna make that a deeper question later for the podcast. But I think Candace is being a little disingenuous. I think the problem with a few people on the right is that they think that their way is the best way. And although I agree that this shouldn't be the rule, there is a recognition that there are exceptions. Like there are people who probably indulge. So You know, Candace.
And she allowed him
People-
to do
some
that
people-
because he needed to get off some weight.
Or
or
about that
he was
lifestyle.
while she was
so.
dying of cancer, one of the last things on her mind was,
This is a real life. This is a
Well,
real
he
life.
shouldn't want
This is a
to.
real life. Yeah, this was a real. I'm asking you.
And is that what he told you?
This. Yeah.
That
So
his wife, that's dying of cancer, wanted him to come have sex with you?
not with me. One of like this is from what I've heard. Yes.
Somebody told you
Right.
that there's that as a dying wish.
A man said, my wife is having cancer. That's actually crazy. Oh, actually, Candace, I'm kind of with you. That's a fucking ridiculous. I thought it was like she can't move. That's kind of ridiculous. Like, I'm about to die of cancer. I want you to go have sex with a prostitute. Like, what? That's such a, what? I don't believe that at all. Like, what? That's such a crazy situation.
Yes.
Dying
So
wife
how would
said,
you
"Please
want
go
that?"
have sex with a prostitute?"
I saw it
at a
on
brothel."
TikTok.
I'm just gonna call bullshit on that altogether.
No,
I just don't
because
think
it does
when you're dying
happen.
of
It
cancer,
happens.
going through leukemia.
People will literally bring their guys here.
Please
Okay.
bring them on the
Okay.
podcast.
I just want to
Essie,
say
go ahead.
that
Most
okay,
absurd
it's
scenario I've ever heard in my life.
there's
a lot of crazy
I agree.
shit has
There's
been asked
marriage
for in brothels.
counseling where they can take you
Men
through
just
sex
change.
therapy where you don't have to sleep with somebody else. If it's about a woman not wanting to have sex anymore, what's the underlying reason? Are her hormones messed up so she's not wanting to be sexually active? Is
Well, I
there
have
not
a good
enough
one next.
foreplay when they're having sex? Like there's other avenues you can take for
There's
sex
like
therapy.
Hey.
normal couples count.
Men, advice to you. Well, one thing that will be a savior to you in the bed. Foreplay is king. Foreplay is king. I'm just saying.
Counselors.
Yes.
Real couples
Just
counseling,
saying.
regular.
where you try to solve the problem and you
Yeah.
release it, and you don't just source it out to a prostitute.
Go ahead.
The cancer thing is crazy.
It's just the most absurd.
The cancer thing is
He lied.
crazy.
He lied.
But
Yeah, I would say he
outside of
probably
that,
lied.
I don't think that it's up to any of us what constitutes a marriage because every relationship is different.
Well,
so
the
if
Bible.
if a husband, okay, but
These words
if you're
have
not,
meaning.
Not,
Not
everyone is
everybody's-
religious.
not
Well,
everybody
wait, hold on. Is that a cross
It
necklace?
doesn't constitute,
Yeah,
like, what do you,
Wait,
yeah.
I'm,
Am I
okay,
sure?
really quick.
Not everybody's
Since
religious.
we're talking about religion, really quick. Okay, you have a cross necklace, but then your shirt says "Made in Hell."
Yes,
Can
it
you?
does.
I'm a little confused.
Ironic,
Can you?
I mean,
I'm a little confused.
the stone is red, so it matched. You know.
Why are you
The-
wearing
What? What? Oh my god, bro. What? I mean, people think nowadays crosses are just ornaments. Right? There's no meal. Like she probably just thinks that it has no meaning. That's probably what she thinks.
a
Are
cross
you
on your neck?
color coordinating with your necklace?
Because I don't see a cross as religious, so
Okay.
I
Just
feel
like
like
you
necklace
don't
was
see a
cute.
marriage as religious.
I don't think that a marriage-
have meaning. This is why it's like we're at a stage where people are like, "What is a woman?" Because they just go, "Well, we're going to call it a marriage, but we're going to sleep with other people. We're going to bring in prostitutes. We're going to outsource raising."
Candace is cool cooking right now. One thing I will say is like the whole notion that people can create definitions for terms is so stupid. Marriage has an intended purpose. We need to realize what that purpose is. Can there be exceptions? Yes, but those should be treated as outliers, not the rule. You shouldn't be people do that all the time. I don't understand why they keep on trying. Like you need to
the kids.
realize
Oh, we're never
outliers
going to have
exist.
kids. You're calling
Outliers
it a family.
are
It's not a
outliers for
family, and
reason.
this is what it is.
They're-
The words have no meaning, right? I'm wearing the cross. Why? I don't know. I don't think of it as religious. Okay, well, Jesus Christ died on the cross.
You think that.
That's what you think.
Wait.
It's
That's
been
what you
proven.
think.
So
It's
why
been
are you wearing the
proven.
cross?
And sex
Because I think it's
worker
cute.
is a
You just think that the
more
design is cute.
Yeah.
better
wait,
term.
Well, Jesus was a real person. And he did die on the cross. Whether you believe that he's like God is real is different, but the person did die on the cross, and the person did exist. So, like, You know what I'm saying?
Wait, real
I
quick.
grew up
Hold on.
Catholic. I was religious, and I'm not
prostitution,
anymore. I
being
don't have to
called-
believe in what you believe, and I can say that if
I didn't
somebody's-
say you had to believe. I asked you a question.
But
I
you're
said, why are
telling
you
me,
wearing the cross?
Okay, and you're saying that the religious aspect of marriage is the only thing that matters. It's not, because people don't follow what you believe.
Okay, I asked you why you're wearing the cross, and you said because you thought it was cute.
Yeah,
I'm
and I
glad we
do.
got an answer. She's wearing the cross around her neck because she thinks it's cute.
I do.
Would
I'm
you
not religious.
also wear like a Star of David?
It's cute.
Well,
Like
because-
if it was cute, would you wear
Well,
it?
okay, well,
I
I
just
don't know
mean like
where we're going-
I'm
where this is
asking that
going.
because I wonder.
Yo,
like,
she's getting grilled. She's getting grilled right now. Yeah, there's really nothing.
Like,
else.
my guess is that you would think that
gotta talk.
maybe you wouldn't wear a Star of David because you're like, oh, this is maybe like disrespectful to people who are.
Are you making the
Jewish.
argument? Maybe. I mean.
No, I'm just.
The secular.
It's a very good question.
I'm just saying.
Devil's advocate here. Secular argument. Someone might just say that the cross is just maybe it's more aesthetically pleasing even for an atheist. I don't know.
Sure,
I
but
don't know.
liberals
Okay,
are all about
look.
like having
Would you wear,
respect
like, a
and
yarmulke 'cause
tolerance.
it's, like,
So I'm
cute?
just like wondering if you
I'm
think
asking
it's.
if would you wear a yarmulke because it's cute?
I think those are very
Oh,
different
are you talking
things.
like
Why is the
blasphemy?
cross
saying-
different from the
I'm-
yarmulke?
I'm just.
I mean, I was
asking-
raised Catholic, and that's
Her answers are fucking terrible, by the way. Oh, girl's answers right here are terrible. They're terrible answers. With that said, I think they're grilling her a little too hard about it. But that's an interesting point. Oh, I should write this down for my deeper question. Should if she's about to die. Another question. Are religious symbols should religious symbols not be worn by people who don't believe? Interesting question.
It's just
Would
not
you
something
wear
that
a
I believe
yarmulke
anymore.
if you thought it was cute?
No, I wouldn't wear. I mean, a yarmulke is completely different than
No,
a cross
it's
that's been
not.
adapted
They're
into
just
culture. You can
symbols
buy a
of,
cross
like, a
necklace anywhere.
There's symbols of a Okay, religious.
the
argument of why it's different basically would come down to like how Catholicism has been practiced versus Judaism, in the sense that like Catholics did use the cross symbol, tried to emplace it like in indigenous populations, tried to spread it as much as possible, and that's why in modern day a lot of people think that's like more okay, because it was meant to be popularized. It was meant to be a symbol that the masses should look up to and should see in general.
Yo, she's spitting. Not gonna lie, she's spitting.
Versus Jewish symbols,
Okay.
I would argue didn't go through that.
I think we're kind of derailing a little bit.
Yeah.
You wanted to come in and go ahead.
Yes. So back to the interesting brothel stories. I wanted to say we do actually have
She got
men
cooked.
coming in with their parents. Yeah, this
And
actually
their
happened.
wives.
Wait.
So
Wait. Hold on. You had men come into a brothel with their parents. Wait, what the? Yo, who are these dudes? What?
in with their parents. Yeah, this
And
actually
their
happened.
wives.
Wait.
So I had a time where a
I got another question for deeper. Should we allow the weirdos in society to live out their fantasies? That's another question. That's another question I
a
have.
guy came in with both his parents all the way from England to come to the Mustang Ranch because he wanted to lose his virginity.
Wait, is this
And
really
his
where we left
parents-
off?
This reminds me of American Dad. Y'all remember that American Dad episode where I think it's American Dad, where Steve was gonna lose his virginity and Stan took Steve to a prostitute. I think it's American Dad. I believe it is.
I'm just not following.
And his parents
the relation to our
paid
previous.
for him to have sex with legal prostitutes.
No comment.
I want your stance on that because what's your stance on that?
Haram.
And if I may,
And wait,
nowadays,
can I just say that for me, I
usually
enjoyed the
call it
experience.
sex workers, not prostitutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait,
Well,
I'm
she
sorry.
said,
Wait,
she
wait,
said
wait.
prostitute.
Yeah, it's because
Okay.
they keep.
Wait, did
it's
I-
because they keep.
Yeah,
Wait,
But
just-
yeah, you
usually
said prostitute at
sex
the beginning of the
worker,
show.
prostitutes a
Is
little
it
bit more
question? Is it
demeaning.
like a? Is
Well,
it?
she said that at the
is
beginning
it
of the show.
offensive?
Legal
Yeah,
prostitute.
she said legal prostitute.
Yeah.
Is I don't want to offend anybody. Is prostitute like a?
It's old school. It's still on the books, like on Nevada's books. But like the
what's
hipper,
the desire?
way to say it is sex worker.
But here's the
these
thing
days.
with sex
you're-
workers.
you don't-
Personally,
that can-
me, you can call me a legal prostitute.
Yeah, she
I
said
got
it.
you.
Cool.
But the thing with the term sex worker is that is such a broad. It includes strippers. It includes women who take lingerie photos who aren't naked.
She's
quick
just, like,
question.
in the background.
Is stewardess okay? Because you're a flight attendant, so I'm just curious.
It's not the term that we
Would you be
prefer.
offended if someone referred to you as a stewardess?
No,
You get any older?
older people do all the time.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
Okay. All right. Just curious. Just want to make sure since we're.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a big deal.
Earlier, it was like talk
Shame.
about like how sleeping or letting your husband or wife sleep with someone else is like irresponsible or it's not a marriage anymore. Like I'd be kind of curious of what you believe a responsible marriage is like, or I understand that you have a religious view on marriage, but
I think
when
she
about
want. I don't
marriage,
think she
like,
wants to be.
I
a
could see
prostitute. Personally,
somebody
I
saying
don't
they're
think
married
she
if
does.
it's like completely
It's just
romantic,
he
like
needs
you're not
Prince
allowed to
Charming
do
to
romance
come
with
and pick
anyone
her up
else.
from
Like
her lifestyle.
basically, what does a responsible marriage mean to you?
Marriage is not just a contract. Like it wasn't just like the government came up with a contract for people to get married. The history of marriage, you can't separate that from the church. The problem is people are trying to make things cool and trying to update and make them modern. And now people are saying you can have a polygamous marriage and you can bring in other people on the outside of a marriage. What's the point of getting married? Literally, I'd like to ask the question: if you think that you can, if you want to marry somebody and then outsource the sex, outsource the responsibility, outsource what the labor of love is actually supposed to be about, why not just stay single?
So you wouldn't do a threesome with your husband?
Absolutely not, because he's my husband.
Do you
Did
believe?
you even have to ask that to get the
Well,
answer?
I mean, there's
Absolutely
married
not.
couples that want to have threesomes, and,
you know
some
what
of
happens?
these ladies are
you
bi-curious.
should jump into those Reddit threads because every single time that marriage ends in divorce, there's so many Reddit threads
No,
about.
they don't.
Oh,
And a
yeah,
lot
I
of them
have- I have
actually do
regulars
really
of
well.
over 5
too.
years.
Okay.
There's
I was
some
gonna
not
say something.
divorced.
Do you
Well,
believe
this is long
atheists can
enough.
get married?
I think atheists get married because they want a tax break. I don't see the point in an atheist getting married. Why don't you just live with your partner, okay? Whoever it is that you're dating.
What? What do you mean you don't see a point of atheists getting married? What are you What? What?
You're at the stage you said, I don't know if you live with your boyfriend or whatever it is. Why take the next leap? If you're wearing crosses for fun and, it
I mean,
seems
if
like
you're actually
good.
asking
Yeah,
the question,
yeah.
I mean, because then I would just be pledging the fact that I would want to be with them forever.
But
I don't
you can just be with them forever. So what is it that
Right,
you
but-
crave that
Candace, it's such a disingenuous question because we realize that they are. Marriage is a cultural symbol, not a religious symbol. In America, so we know exactly societally what the meaning of marriage is. So that's a dumb
that
question.
when you want to get married, what's that next step for you? What does it mean? What's the difference between dating and marriage?
because it's a commitment.
Is dating not a commitment?
It's a commitment, but it's saying a
But
next
you're
step.
in-
It's solidifying it.
Okay, solidifying what? Because if
Solidifying
you're,
a bond between two people that love each other.
Okay, but what is solidified? If you can then jump into that next commitment, which is the exact same as dating, and you can sleep with other
not.
people, and you can put topless photos on the internet, what are you getting married for? Pictures on Instagrams to say you did it?
I mean, I'm not sleeping with other people.
What's the
but
difference for you between dating and marriage?
I just told you it's a bond between two people. You're solidifying that by law. You're literally making it known. I want to to be with this person forever. It isn't just a simple breakup. Oh, I can go and do whatever the fuck I want and leave. It's a partnership. It's a bond. It's forever.
But there's no difference between dating and marriage.
There is a
other than the
difference.
idea in your head that it's a bond, because you're saying also.
But it's not an idea in my head. It's on paper.
Oh, okay, it's the paper. That was.
Bad question. Very disingenuous by Candace Owens. L. Owens.
But it's not but I'm saying it's not a tax break. It's a legal thing.
And I think
I'm
for people that are
connecting to
committed,
somebody for the rest of my.
I want you to sleep with another man or sleep with another woman so that I can fill my sexual fetish.
What if
I
a
mean,
wife was unwilling to
it's
pig
an
his
utter
wife?
perversion of what it means
What?
to be married.
Wait,
and
what?
It
What is that
will
question?
lead to divorces. People that have this perspective will, and I'm not saying that if you don't do it, you won't get divorced 100%, but I do want to say that there is probably a reason that a lot of sex workers struggle to find people that want to marry them.
Well, can I say a lot
I
of the
disagree.
perversion that comes if you are not
Candace's whole point was very disingenuous, but I do understand the notion of like, what is the point of a marriage if you're just gonna go and sleep around and gonna do whatever you want, and really, there's really no difference between you. It's just like it's just a claim thing at the end of the day. That's literally the only difference at that point. I can claim. So I mean, I kind of
going to be acceptant with your partner if he comes to you and is like, hey, I really like getting pegged, I want you to peg me, and you're like, ew, that's so disgusting, like I would never do that. You want me to eat your ass? I would never do that. Well then, okay, what are you gonna do? Divorce him? Or what are you gonna do? Realistically, I'm asking you I'm asking, hold on, I want to know, what are you gonna do? That's your husband. He's like, hey babe.
I think one of the things about marriage that's really beautiful is I know what my husband, before we got married, I think I know who he is.
But things change, and maybe he wants to start exploring.
He wants to start doing what?
So he wants to start exploring, and he's like, oh my gosh, maybe I do want you to like eat my ass, and I kind of want you to peg me. Like I kind of want anal penetration from you because you're my wife and you're so beautiful and hot, and we're married and we have kids together, and I'm feeling a little bit kinky, and I with you, since we have this special marriage and bond. How would you feel if we could just try this out just this one time, babe, please?
I think it would probably indicate to me that my husband was involved in some perverse world, whether it was through pornography, that something else was happening on the side, because these aren't normal things that people just think of when they wake up.
So
like,
what's your
hey,
next
I'd
move?
really like a strap-on dildo.
Okay, right.
Well,
so what's your next
also,
move?
What's the ultimatum? He's going to divorce me if I don't peg
so
him?
So what's your next move?
Crazy. I would think that individual would probably need therapy and not the kind that you give.
Okay. And
Damn.
But you're going to
Unnecessary.
You don't immediately divorce.
Okay.
Marriage is
You're gonna
about working through issues and working through problems. You don't immediately divorce them. And this gets back to what she was saying about if your husband, if suddenly a woman doesn't want to have sex, which would be another huge issue in a relationship, I would hope that my husband wouldn't instantly divorce me, but I would hope that they would take
some guys are terrified of that, and some guys don't even feel like they can open up to their wives about that
Sounds
stuff.
like they need therapy.
They
then.
need
If
therapy.
can't open up to his
And
wife.
yeah, I know.
You got to work on your marriage.
But the thing is that they'll come to us talking to us about that. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
and I think that's
I think
unhealthy. And I think that, the fact that sex workers exist as this, what you believe to be a solution, when in fact that's a detriment, because you're getting in the way of the wife and the husband being able to communicate. And so I would much rather my husband go, if there was an issue and your wife's not having sex, I'd rather him go talk to a priest. I'd rather him go talk to another male. When males sit down and talk about, hey man, you should talk to her about this. I'd rather him.
What man
no,
nowadays
let me
is
finish
gonna
my
do
statement. I'd rather him. What do you mean, bros talking to each other about things? That's a normal. I'd
Especially
rather,
about
if I have an
sex, I
issue
feel
in
like
my,
that's pretty
it's pretty
normal.
normal. I'd rather go talk to my sisters about things that are going on in my marriage. There's a lot of steps you can take before you talk to a prostitute about your marriage. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I live in such a crazy.
well, I'm saying what man is willing to do that?
Turn on a Taylor Swift song, cry a little bit in my room.
A lot of men are willing to do that. You get a small percentage of very desperate, pathetic dudes coming to you. Sorry to say, just being completely honest, men inherently don't want to get divorced, just like women. Like, they don't want to get a divorce. They don't want to ruin their marriage. Like, that's the last thing on their mind.
I don't know. There's a lot. I would turn to Taylor Swift before I would go to a prostitute about my marriage.
I know, but you're not a male, so I'm just saying, like,
men can talk to other. What are you talking about? There's all of these podcasts of men talking to men and being inspirational and talking about porn addiction and much rather cast whether it's a spiritual leader than to turn to a prostitute in a brothel.
I hear you.
So there's a lot of steps that you can take from we're having an issue in our marriage to my husband's at a brothel laying next to a prostitute talking about issues in my marriage.
I think actually, let me just step in really quick. I do think though, I would like to redirect the conversation because I do think it's probably a very small portion of people who are married are seeking to bring in a prostitute for the husband. It just seems like such a small kind of, I don't know. What's up, really quick?
Statistically, married men are actually the highest number of clientele for prostitutes.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying, please.
And it's still a very, 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 very small percentage of men. What was that point? What was that point? I don't understand that point.
Listen, for me, I'm literally telling you guys, males come to us and say all this stuff, which is like they're first scared of you guys because how you might react. Two, they feel like they can't be honest and open with you guys. That's why they result in coming to places like that.
Just so you guys know, that statistic doesn't mean that the majority of married men go to prostitutes. So
I didn't say that.
No, I know. I'm just letting her know because she said yes, like it was if it was a debunk.
No,
I think what he's saying is that the majority of married men don't turn
I'm just saying like
to prostitutes.
So
there might be a small contingent,
men,
and they might be majority married.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
I think that's a good reason to have.
Exactly.
I guess on the point of like something was brought up earlier about like what is like a responsible marriage to you. So part of being a good partner as like a wife or a girlfriend to whoever you're with is making them feel comfortable telling you anything, especially if it's something that they think is serious enough to consider leaving like their relationship with you for. Like if it's serious enough that they would consider divorcing you if they can't explore the sexual fantasy or anything like that. I think that's just a part of being good on the I agree with what you're saying here, that they that these men don't feel comfortable that they could tell their wives, and I guess that's just a part of being, not that it's justifiable that you as a wife you should give in to any sexual fetish your partner brings to you. It's whatever you're comfortable with and wherever your boundaries are. But I guess that's a part of that continuous conversation with them, so that they always feel comfortable bringing up anything to you as a friend, as like a confidant, and knowing they're not going to be judged, but that they'll be a partner with you. And
I do have to move on. So we have a couple chats here I want to try to get through. We have Beaten Cheeks, Candace Owens. Do not hold back on these libs. Wipe the floor with your intelligence. Congrats on being prego again. Be easy with my Essie though. She's about to get retired out soon.
Okay, first of all, I have beef with Beaten Cheeks because he asked me on a date and then posted a photo with another girl on Twitter. So
cringe. Very interesting that always attacking libs.
Are you guys loyal? I mean, he asked you on a
Basically breaking my heart.
Frankie supports promiscuous behavior in her music and perpetuates the "I don't need a man" mentality. And when she's done recording, she goes home to her husband and her children, who, by the way, Jay-Z cheated, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Good point, Frankie. Thank you, man. We have Canada J, Candace, the Honey Badger Queen. Is that your
Honey
nickname?
Badger?
I don't know.
Or did you just get bestowed with the
Honey Badger Queen? Cringe. What?
Episode.
Thank you for your voice and being on. This wacky space is a cultural battlefield that somehow pushes beyond ideological bubbles. When are Jeremy and Ben going to make Brian an offer? Seriously, think about it.
Yeah. I'll bring it to them. I've got a lot to bring to them. After.
Yes, the Tiger King.
Yeah, Tiger King and Matt Walsh.
There you go. All right, we have Travel Trades here. Oh, wait. I'll just read. Hi, Brian. Long time no see. Hopefully I can come on once I'm back from Kuwait. Hi, Candace. Thanks for being a voice when I felt odd having conservative behaviors. Excuse me. Your bravery has helped countless people become comfortable with being conservative.
I think people need to realize this as well on online platforms, and honestly on any platforms, is that an honest voice will always be able to help someone. An entertainer will always be able to help someone. Because sometimes people, especially when they're on that edge of on being uncertain on their own path, they fall on this very potentially depressed state, all they need to hear is a different perspective. All they need to see is a different outlook, right? So I think sometimes we have a little bit of a selection bias, and I think the red pill probably does this, and maybe people on the left as well, where they hear stories about what they're doing, helping individuals, making a difference, what they're doing, changing them for the better. We see that happen, right? But in reality, you're always going to do that the moment you get fame. Even if you were the most evil person in the world, like a Nick Fuentes, you're going to inspire someone. That's just how this works once you gain a following. So I think people need to recognize that despite you gaining this following and gaining these followers, and you may be helping some people mentally, what you're saying is not gospel. What you're saying is not the right answer. What you're saying is not truth. It's just one perspective, and that one perspective is all it is. Sometimes I feel like content creators fall in this weird trap where they think that they're saving.
We have travel trades.
humanity.
People in this day and time are exceedingly haughty and refuse to pursue the abolition or even suppression of ego in their everyday lives. People appeal their own wants, needs, opinions, ideas, etc. above all else, instead of appealing to something greater from travel trades. Hey, thank you, appreciate it.
Cool.
And then lastly, we have Sosaiji. That's probably not respected. Respect itself makes them not a prospect for any like long-term relationship.
These are normal guys, and some of them are hot. So I'm a fitness competitor.
Okay, all right.
I'm 46 years old. I figured I was going to age out of the industry. What has happened? MILFs are all the thing. They're the cat's pajamas right now. So I'm getting a ton.
MILF.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of youngins.
The
coming.
youngins.
The youngins.
The youngins.
Young gentlemen.
Really?
Tons
Okay.
of them. And then, fitness competitors, judges that judge in the circuits, and then they'll say, hey, you're looking good, or tighten this up. So there's a lot of opportunities to meet a lot of individuals now.
To meet them, though, but I mean,
and
when
date,
it comes
and
to
date them,
but
and
when
they
it comes
come
to
back.
long-term commitment, I mean, I think
They want, I agree. What I encounter, and something what Candace said, is these guys, they are prideful. So once they start dating you, they do, in my experience, they do want you to maybe consider settling down. Now, I've done real estate. I was vice president of business growth at an active wealth management company during COVID. I have a master's degree. I can do different things.
what do you have a master's in?
Education.
Okay,
I got straight
got
A's.
it.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
and I taught for a while. So I come in and out. I'll go into white collared work, and then I'll go back into the industry because it's fun for me. I enjoy it, and it is good money, and it's an adventure. I enjoy going out with these guys and being a travel companion and getting to go on vacations.
No, I just wanted to ask you as
I mean, that's fair. I mean, she goes out, has fun with these guys, and just has sex on the side. Like, I'm not. That's why I said I have a love-hate. Like, I think it shouldn't be normalized. I think that is my point. It shouldn't be normalized as an acceptable career. That's what I personally think. But whether you agree or not, it doesn't really matter to me. I just don't think something like this should be normalized. But if you want to do it, like, you can. It can't, like, everything can be a
man
career.
sitting at this table. Are you
Doesn't mean
attracted
doesn't mean it shouldn't
to
be
their lifestyles? Do you think
a
men
selection.
are attracted
When
to
you're
their
going to school, you shouldn't
lifestyles?
select porn.
I'm just curious about your opinion, just to hear a
Good
male.
thing I don't care.
Well, that's so rude.
No,
He
but
sat
I mean,
here and
good-
asked you your opinion about
no,
everything.
I said like good thing I don't care for
But I
what
didn't-
other male has to say about my industry, though.
But
I'm
he's
just
been
saying.
asking you questions about what you think about men.
No, I'm gonna
He's been
listen to
asking you
him.
questions about your life, and the first thing when I
No,
ask one
he can
question to
say his
him,
question.
you
I'm
say
just
I don't
saying, like,
care. I feel like that's
personally,
I'm very hurt.
Like,
I want to know.
Yeah,
I demand an
but
apology.
why
How dare
interrupt
you.
that? Like when he asks you a question, what if someone said, "I don't care what she says"? You know, I think that's just
no,
a little
like,
rude.
I'm saying like because everybody's always out here. I see your faces that you're giving her and stuff like that. And I think
No,
it's funny.
I just am
And so
saying
just
I'm letting her
like,
talk, but I just wanted to hear his opinion on it. So I just was
ahead,
that like a
Ryan.
little bit of insecurity to just jump and say I don't care because
Can I
did you
poach
think-
Candace from the Daily Wire?
Well,
I think I need
it was
to
just a little rude.
He needs a co-host to hold it down. I mean, he's not the most confident host. Like,
And
I
like
need- I need a
he's
cut.
let
I
you
need to
talk so
defend
much.
her.
I
We've
think he
all
did
been letting
something else
people
before
talk
he
with
did
different
this podcast.
perspectives. So I just thought it was like suddenly he hasn't even said anything, and you've
There
already
was a
diminished.
few times where
What?
condescending
Okay, well,
look.
in
Yes.
any case,
So
in any case,
it's
so
okay.
I
Can-
just want to hear
Just
a male
continue,
voice. Like we've been all talking
okay,
about our
I'm
opinions.
trying to let Brian continue, and you're still talking.
damn.
Okay.
a little bit
So
of insecurity coming out over there. Not sure where it's coming from, but go on.
Damn.
Go ahead, Brian.
oh, do I have your permission? Is it okay? Is it okay? Okay. Cool.
Spicy.
So sorry. Can you just repeat
Cat
the question
fight.
one more
Yeah,
time?
I was just saying like it's interesting because we're all women.
I don't personally
Don't
care
take
what his
offense,
opinion
like-
is either.
Baby, I'm not offended by any means. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay.
That's,
I'm not,
that's
I'm
totally
not
fine.
looking for
We
a
I'm not.
high-end
I'm not.
relationship right now.
I'm not trying to offend you. She was just asking me.
Yeah, I literally
my-
was just
my
asking a
stance.
question.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, earlier I was like talked about like promiscuity. Like I'm assuming you guys believe like promiscuity is like bad or shouldn't be encouraged in society.
Base.
I was
Candace
wondering
Owens
if
for
what
president.
specific factors do you think encourage it most? Do you believe it's like media? Do you think like birth control has anything to do with it? Do you believe like I want to know what your top factors of promiscuity are, what you believe it is.
Yeah, so I would say number one contributor is culture and the education system. So I remember when I was left leaning, a lot of my ideas came from the school system and just what you're talking about, Planned Parenthood in the classroom. That effort began in the 70s. The majority of high schoolers were graduating with their virginity intact in the 70s before they started teaching health class, which was teaching people that everybody's doing it, and actually they weren't. And within one decade, it completely flipped, and the majority of teens were now graduating having lost their virginity. So we ceded a lot of that to the education system, which when parents had more control over their children, what was happening in the classroom was based on arithmetic and not cultural issues, and focusing on engineering children to think that sex is this positive, it's you just do it, everybody's doing.
I don't think. I mean, maybe she's right. I would have to think about it more or look into it more. What the sexual culture? I don't know. I feel like human history, sex has always been a thing. I think probably. I don't know if I agree to this. Like, my instinct tells me that people always love like the moment people learned about sex, and I think there's something to be said about learning about sex and obviously acting upon what you learned, right? I think this newer age, what has happened is one, consumption of sexual content, whether it's movies, TV shows, porn after night, or the internet, right? Or social media nowadays. So the outlook of sexual content has been easier to access, especially since all these kids have technology, they have phones. So if they're not vetted properly, they'll learn about sex at a very young age and be very curious. Right? So I think that's one aspect. Two, yes, I do agree nowadays that sex has become somewhat normalized, like even in high school to an extent. I do get that sentiment. I think it's a more of a culture thing necessarily, not necessarily an education. I don't know if I'm gonna blame it. I don't, because when I took health class, I didn't come out of health class thinking, "Hey man, sex is okay. We should all do it." That's not what I don't think that's true. It's so, but I do think it's in part due to culture, content that's being consumed are like the two big things for sure. Blaming everything on education is disingenuous. What else? Because I don't want to watch three more hours. Heflation discussion. Candace is fascinated by hoes. I'm gonna skip around because there's no
Everybody's
way I'm
saying
watching 3 hours.
don't need a
of this.
man, and it's funny that someone brought up Beyonce because she's living the exact opposite of what she's singing. She's just making money because she's knows how to make money in a hoflationary environment. You know, smart woman. She's like, I'm just gonna pretend to be a hoe, but then actually privately, I'm gonna be like super. Like,
Hold on. You wanted to come in, then you please, if you can, try to keep it brief because I need to get to chat.
I was just gonna say that my version of sex education, or my sex education, was literally them showing us a birthing photo or video. Sorry.
Yeah, in 4th grade.
That terrified me, and I was like, actually, I don't think I'm gonna have sex for a long time. I think I'm good.
Go ahead.
And like speaking of hoflation, I mean, we're always trending apparently, right? Because
Who's we?
Hoes. Because without us hoes, you wouldn't have like that many views to be watching, right? You have hoes come on the podcast.
Yo, she's not wrong. 100%. All these thirsty, pathetic guys want to see all these 304s.
To talk about our.
I'm not knocking hoes.
I don't want to be a hoe.
I'm saying,
I don't want to be a hoe.
I'm saying you have hoes, and when I say you have hoes coming onto the podcast, you know you're a hoe
Do
if
you
you're
mean
a
a
hoe.
literal hoe or like more of the colloquial?
That's Brian's dream.
You know what I mean?
You have hoes, Brian.
So you sit here and you want to bash sex workers, but you know we come
When
on
did
here.
I
we
bash
When did I
anybody.
Anybody.
I don't think
There was-
anybody
there
has
was
bashed.
very
He's
little
bringing you
bashing.
on here and giving you a platform to speak. So I
Yeah.
think that if he was going to be bashing you, he wouldn't even allow
But
anybody
making
on.
us
The hero
making
of
us
hoes, if
seem-
you will.
Wait, what do you mean making what?
making us seem like
I'm not making anybody seem any
you know,
sort of
like
No, I'm just talking
we're
about a video.
Trending,
Oh, I'm-
we're a trending topic, so it's relevant to speak on
Because it's interesting.
Wait, what?
It's
Yeah.
fascinating. I am
That's what I'm
fascinated by hoes. I'll say it. I'm
Sounds so stupid. What else? You talk about anything else interesting? Would they date a trans person? Okay, let's hear this.
Raising children. Without this definition, marriage just becomes dating with a contract. Sending your husband to a sex therapist for sex is just prostitution with a loophole. Hey, the Castman 777. Thank you very much for your comment there. Final question here before Candace has to take off.
I'm watching until Candace
would
leaves. by
any
the
of
way.
you date a trans person?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
I
Be
feel like if I
honest.
say no, I'm going to get a lot of backlash.
See, they don't want to be honest. Be honest. Just be honest. Like people are so like social media has ruined this generation. Like people are so scared to be honest when a camera's in front of them. It's actually crazy. Like if you don't like one of my big like I would get this quote like for like if for what am I thinking? Apparel. Where are these fruit flies coming from? Merch. I would get merch of this quote. Say what you mean what you say. I hate when people just beat around the bush, bro.
I think
mean,
my
be hon- just be
personal
honest.
preference, I would say no.
Okay, that's fine.
No.
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 hell
Well,
no.
you're married. Me personally, I would not. My question to you guys is: would any of you object to a man not wanting to date a transgender woman?
I think everybody has their own personal preferences, and if there's one thing
Shout
you're
out to you.
allowed to be super picky on, it's who you date. Like,
Okay.
you know, I think that's the only thing that you can 100% have free reign on. You can date who you decide.
Any?
I would completely agree with
Okay.
her. Like we talked about before, I think that everyone should have boundaries, you know? And as long as that person's upfront and honest and they can have like a adult conversation that isn't rooted in hatred, I don't think there's
Very
anything wrong with
reasonable
preferring
takes. You
somebody
don't
that
hear
isn't
it. Very
trans.
reasonable.
Okay. I have a question. So, and this has been like a thing that's gone viral on this podcast before, and it always seems to spark quite a debate. So, would you consider it to be gay for a man to date a trans woman?
Yes.
For a man to date, no, personally.
Would you categorize him as straight?
Probably, yeah. Because, what is it? I'm sorry.
It would be if she still has you film me, then no, he would not be straight. There's no way you can convince me he's straight. If she film me, there's no way he's straight. That's crap.
This is
Here,
like, too
Azania.
technical.
I mean,
I'm
I'm
like, I just
If you don't want to answer, that's
like,
fine.
it's
Go ahead.
just-
If you don't want to answer, that's fine. Go ahead.
I'm with Pixie. I don't think that makes them
Wouldn't-
gay at
wouldn't-
all.
SE.
Oh, is that
have no clue.
Pixie? Like, she's the person on Twitter, I think. She had some pretty reasonable takes, so respect.
Yeah.
You-
like
okay. Question. Does your answer change based on the stage of transition? Like, what if this is before any transition has occurred at all, but the person has come to the realization that they are?
I think I saw somewhere that once you change the organ, like you lose the ability to you lose the ability to feel anything, is what I heard. I might be wrong, but I heard like if you change your penis or your vagina into whatever the other organ is, that you lose the I guess orgasm function. Like you can't feel anything, so it's just for show. It's just aesthetic, is what I heard. So like if anybody changes, they can't feel anything. They just want to look like a woman. That's so crazy. Like you need to look like a man or woman so badly, like you like sacrifice your ability to feel during sex. That's crazy, in my opinion. I would hate
Are
life.
transgender.
Well,
Not gonna lie.
would
If I
assume
lost
that
this
you have
thing,
some
I would hate
level
life.
of like homosexual inclination if you're a man attracted to a person who looks and represents as a man, you know? Like if you're saying pre-transition, I would say like if you're attracted to those components of that person.
But pre-transition, if you are transgender, are you a woman?
Pre-transition, you're a woman who hasn't transitioned yet, so you're presenting as a male
What
until you
if there
transition.
hasn't? What if there hasn't been any bottom surgery?
What do you mean?
Like there's still an appendage.
So you're saying they transitioned everything, but they're bottom.
Maybe they're in the process.
Say what you mean,
of
mean what you
transition.
say. Jesus Christ, people are so they beat around the bush so they don't get canceled so bad. It's a tough world to be in, to be this insecure about every single thing you say. To be fair, there's a PR team for a lot of these content creators, for a lot of these famous people for a reason. They're afraid about backlash and image because they want to monetize off these people. So that's just what it is, right? They want to look good. They care about other people's opinion, which is not a bad thing.
Let's say fine, everything, but the.
Okay, I feel like I'm kind of confused here, so I'll just.
On your end, you dress and you wear a dress, you wear a wig. If you come together and you have sex, you're gay, and I think that is homosexual, right? So I know that people are trying. It is convoluted. So I understand why you're like they're trying simple. Your body, or you've chopped some two men coming together to have sex with their appendages intact.
If you're presenting completely different, because at that point, like, you have men who say.
We always talk about WOW. Why not raise the topic of the Lydian funeral raid? What?
That they've been trapped or
You
whatever,
gotta
and
just
I'm like,
donate $100
that person
for
is
that.
straight. They literally
Damn.
slept with someone. But at the end of the day, like, honestly, I don't really care about people's sexual orientation that much. Like,
That was the question. So yeah.
What is a woman?
I've answered this question before on the podcast.
Here, I can start with Azalea. Did I say your name right? I'm sorry.
No, you never do, but it's okay.
Okay, go ahead. So what is a woman?
I mean, I think that gender is a spectrum. I obviously know that you do not agree with me, and a lot of the conservative people here won't agree with me, but I guess it's just how you present and how you feel. I mean, I don't like to structure things that way and like make it so
That's so stupid. I hate this flip-floppy nuance. Oh, everybody could feel whatever. I hate that. That's how you destroy a society. Having no rules beyond anything, having no standards, that's how you destroy a society. Legit, that's how you destroy a society.
Black and white.
It's so stupid.
A female is somebody that has a vagina. That's what it says in the book, right? Okay,
Which
cool.
book? The Bible?
The health ed book.
Oh, the
It
health
says
ed book.
vagina.
Yeah.
Okay,
Health ed book.
okay.
No, but what
Gender
is a-
and sex are two different things. So,
Okay.
You answered the question correctly, so
Okay.
I don't want you to feel like you answered it wrong.
What is a woman?
a woman is
I'm like,
somebody.
this is so complex. I'm
Yeah,
scared.
it doesn't need to be.
Okay. Go
ahead.
It doesn't.
A
need to
woman
be.
is somebody who presents or acts as the social construct of woman. And the reason why I don't say biology is because whenever we look at biology, the truth is, before coming to this room, I did not look at anybody's genitalia here. I did not look at any of your chromosomes. I just assumed you guys were women because of how you dress and act. So I think that maps on more to our reality of how we use the word woman.
Essie.
This is so controversial. I'm very a man and a woman. Man has a penis, woman has a vagina. Biologically, man and a woman.
I agree. I think that it's like whatever biologically and anatomically what you've got going on.
I feel like what brings out my feminine qualities the most is the thought of being a mother in the future. So I guess.
What is a woman? What is a man? I mean, there's a literal definition. Adult female, right? But I guess you can bring in the ultra other like feminine qualities that also make up a woman. So adult female plus feminine qualities makes you a woman. Like, that's all there is to it. Honestly. Check out Candace's. I don't really care about the rest of the conversation, but let me.
I associate being a woman with being a mother in all aspects of that.
Woman, to answer your question, is an adult female.
Adult.
Shout out Matt.
adult.
Shout out Matt Walsh's documentary. Did she say anything else before she leaves? Twitch shortcuts. Shout outs. Okay. All right. That's all we got for that. I'm turning that off. Was it an interesting conversation? It was cool. It was cool. I think I wanted to look into a few things actually. Read some material. I don't want you to leave me.